Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. Because we are new to most, or perhaps even all of you, relatively new at least, we thought we would introduce ourselves and make this a little more informal and tell you a bit about ourselves, our journey to Ananda and to this day. And if you would like to begin, please.
Oh, wow.
If you would.
Long ago.
Yeah.
So I'll start with this lifetime. We came to Ananda in Seattle, Washington, and it was discovered, we've both sort of been looking for something all our lives, but we were in Seattle, Washington, and driving down from work from a clinic each day, I would end up right in front of the Nanda Mandir, 3 cars back from the stoplight, every time, 3 cars back. And I would look in and I'd say, what's going on in there? And there's just these joyful faces. And so they had a little kiosk sign that said, learn to meditate. And I had taken TM a long time ago, but it didn't stick with me. And so I wrote that number down and I called the next day and said, what do you offer as meditation? And they sent me the schedule. And then I called and said, I'd like to sign up for the class. When is it? And I said to Surendra, I'm going to take a meditation class. Would you like to come with me? And we went to meditation 1, and then we went to meditation 2 and 3, and we moved into the community. And there we lived for just about 6 years before we moved on.
I have a confession that I have to make. When I was asked to join Tushti in this meditation class, I can't say that I expressed a great deal of enthusiasm about it. I had been always very interested in spirituality, but not really in organization. And I had a very busy mind, and that seemed to work for me, at least in my concept of success and what was working. And the idea of quieting that mind just didn't make a lot of sense to me initially. And so I had opportunities to take meditation in the past and just never really did it, even when it was recommended to me. So my going along to this meditation class was more out of realizing that it was going to be good for our marriage. And of course, we were both very blessed to have wonderful teachers, Vasudeva and Jacqueline, who is now Jamana. Vasudeva has since passed, but they inspired us greatly, and we took to this path, to the teachings, to the principles, and to the people, of course, to the music, to all of it. And so it was very easy for me to continue along the progression that many of you are perhaps, taking right now. I know that some of you are Kriyavans, many of you are perhaps working in that direction. And it is just such a blessing to be a part of all of this.
Well, do you want to talk about going down to Colorado?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So we've had a number of journeys within the journey. When we were in Palo Alto, when we were in Seattle, we each had our separate businesses. And it wasn't for a couple of years that we actually moved into the community up there. We lived in the Seattle community for 4 years, but we always had our own outside businesses. I had a small medical supply business. Tushti can tell you in more detail about the fact that she was a wonderful massage therapist at that time and had her own studio. And one day, much to our surprise, following a wonderful event at a beautiful venue up there called Benaroya Hall, Swami had come to Seattle to do a talk. We had booked a very large theater. We were in the choir, and both Dharmarajan Dharmini joined us from Palo Alto at that time to be in that choir. It was a wonderful evening, very, very inspiring. And afterwards, Swamiji and a number of the other leaders who were there took a couple of days vacation in a small town called Connor, a very beautiful little town. And they had a meeting, evidently, nothing that we were aware of, but they were looking for someone to move somewhere, I'll just say that. And we, when Swamiji was leaving, it's customary to go to the airport and say farewell and thank you. Tushti that day had a client, she wasn't able to go, but I went to the airport and I was standing among a number of other people when Swamiji walked in. My name was James at the time, and the Swami walked in. He said, "James, I'm so glad you're here. I have something that I want to propose to you. Please, if you would go talk to Freeman over there, and he'll tell you all about it." I said, "Of course, Swamiji." And I went and talked to Freeman, and he said, "Would you and Tushti be willing to move to the Palo Alto community and manage East-West Bookstore?" Mind you, we had no retail experience whatsoever. I had never worked in a store. Tushti had never worked in a store. We immediately started thinking of all the other people who would probably be better qualified. But to make a long story short, we were honored, and it was our joy to say, yes, we would do this. So I'll let you pick it up from there.
Well, it was very interesting when Surendra called and said, "I have some news to share with you." And I was working with a client, of course, as he mentioned. I came from a nursing background, and I did special massage for medical patients. And I said, "Where are we moving?" when he called. And he said, "I'll tell you later over dinner." And so we found out we were making this move. And we just said, like Swami says, say yes to life. So we thought, well, if it's coming from Swami, whatever it is good for us to do. And so we sold a lot of things. Divine Mother was helping us to become renunciates. So we sold a lot of things and moved to Palo Alto, where we really didn't know anybody. And like he said, we had no experience. I volunteered a little bit at the East-West Bookstore in Seattle, but I hadn't really worked there. And so we came down and, we said to Swami, we don't really know how to do this. And he said, "Your customers will train you," and they surely did. And it was a joy to serve there. And we were there for about 10 years. And we thought, well, we'll move on. There's a new project starting in Laurelwood, Oregon, which you may have heard about. It was a residential high school from the 50s that was 55 acres, and so Ananda wanted to move into there and create a World Brotherhood community as we have in Pune. And so we thought, let's go help start that work. And we made sure it was a fine transition. And the store actually, everything's moving into the computer age. And you can see we have gray hair, so we don't have as much knowledge as some of the youth have as far as computers. And so we found beautiful young people to step in our place, and they had that knowledge, and it was perfect. And so we moved up to Laurelwood and in Oregon, and now we had dorm rooms. So you see, we're letting go and letting go. And so we moved into a dorm room, and we had chairs and a bed, and I was hanging pictures of Master and Swami, and then we go into town one day, and we're coming back, and we get a phone call. This was 6 days later after we moved in and unpacked our boxes. And we get a phone call, "Can you please come back? Where are you?" I said, "Well, we're on our way back from town." And we were driving there, and I knew that Daiva, who's head of that community, with his wife Gandamata, they were both in seclusion. So usually in seclusion, you're not outward at all, no phones, nothing. And it's a blessed time. And I said, "Well, that's unusual," I said to Surendra, "that he's calling us and he's in seclusion." So something is different, and his voice is different.
We immediately started wondering what we had done wrong.
Exactly.
Were we about to be scolded?
There were guidelines to living in this. It was called Cities of Light program. And you had to let people know where you were going, when you anticipated being back. We figured, yes, we did this, we did this, we did. But why is he calling us when he's in seclusion? So we drive in, and he was walking. He says, just go up to the house, we'll have tea. I said, okay. We get up there, and then, we're just, come on, tell us what it is. How you just want that instant answer. And so he said, sit down, have some tea. He said, let me get Gangamata on Skype. And now we know something really big is because she's in seclusion in town. And so she says, oh, hi. Oh, you're having tea. And we're going, yeah. And so they said, well, Swami Jyotish and Devi are wondering and are asking if you would consider moving to India. And we looked at each other, and our mouths, of course, dropped down about that far. And we said, yes. So we were very thrilled, and we had already actually planned an 8-week pilgrimage to come to India before this entered the consciousness. And so we said, can we continue with our pilgrimage? And yes, we could. And so Diva said, we wanted to tell you before Jyotish and Devi did, since you just moved in. And so it was a very interesting experience of just what is that all about, to really surrender to God's will. And it comes in different packages, different pages, and it's just amazing when you do what comes. And we're thrilled to be here and to be of service in any way we can, and to meet everyone. We've been traveling around to some of the different communities or colony centers in India, and it's just such a joy, because when I looked in that window in Seattle, it was a vibration that I felt. And that vibration is here. It's in absolutely every Ananda meditation group, community, center, because it all comes from Master, and then it shines through all of us. So we're happy to be here.
When we came to India, it was to Gurgaon. We were asked to come and help Dhyanji, who I'm sure many of you know. She was very much on her own with a great deal to do, because Jayaji had been asked to go to Pune. And so we went to Gurgaon, and we were in Gurgaon for about 6 weeks when we were again invited to tea. And I would just say at the outset, if you would like us to stick around, don't invite us to tea. But we went to tea with Dhyanji and Jayaji at the Westin Hotel, and we were just sitting around chatting. And Jaya finally got to the subject. He said, would you be willing to move to Pune? And of course it was a great surprise. We had been to Pune. We had visited there when we were doing this pilgrimage that Tushti mentioned. But again, we just felt like we were abandoning Dhyanji, but she said she was willing to go along with it, and so we said yes, of course. It was several months before we actually moved to Pune, but we've been there now for about a year, and again, maybe a few months after we were in Pune, and I was being the community manager, and Tushti was the retreat director, and Jayaji was the spiritual director of Ananda Pune. We got invited to tea again. This time it was at our house. But over tea, of course, Sadhana Devi was there also with Jayaji in Pune, and he said, we're leaving. We need to go back to the U.S. We will continue to be the spiritual directors along with Dhyanji of Ananda India, but you're it. And so we said, go, okay. And there it has been ever since. We have wonderful help. We have a fine core group of people. I know a number of you have been to the Pune community, and each time you come, you are encouraged to come as often as you can. You will find changes all the time, but the people there are doing a wonderful job of building that retreat center primarily. The community will follow organically in time, but it's not really a residential community in the sense of other Anand communities at this time. But we're also very blessed to have Narayani and Shurjo with us. Since Swamiji's passing, they have returned from Assisi to now manage the retreat. They are the retreat directors, and we kind of oversee everything that's going on in some form, but without the support that we have from all these wonderful people, it wouldn't be nearly as magnetic as it is now and is continuing to become. So by all means, please join us when you can. It's a great place to seclude, to just be out in the country, away from the city, and you will find wonderful people to be with.
Well, we were just so impressed with Chennai, how beautiful it is. And we have so many trees, and that's so important for us, to have nature around us. And so when you come to the community or the retreat center, it's really in the country. And there's all kinds of animals, just you wake up to hearing the birds singing, and you feel the little maybe bit of a breeze, and you just feel like Divine Mother is ever so present out there. The land is really beautiful. And as Surendra said, we're developing a retreat center, but so we hope you can come. We've had different types of retreats, and if you have any special kind of retreat that you would like, be it for the yoga postures, which I will come back and offer as soon as we can put it on the calendar. Because, I came from a medical background, and so I really appreciate how yoga teachings are spreading into the greater community, even within allopathic medicine, because it's, the yoga path looks at the whole entire being, not just the sore finger or the broken arm, because we're so much more than that. And tuning into even the affirmation of immortality, it's the yoga teachings remind us of where we came from and where we want to go. And the retreat is just a place to leave everything behind, and just be with God, be with Divine Mother, and go just deep into within. We're going to set up seclusions, guided seclusions for those who have never been. Master said seclusion is the price of greatness. And if you've never done it, you think, what am I going to do? I'm just here by myself, oh my. we try to leave that self outside the door or at the end of the road, but the seclusions are going to be wonderful. And maybe you'll all come as a group, which would be fantastic.
I should mention, because Tushti modestly has not, that she is a master yoga teacher trainer, has been a yoga teacher trainer for 16 years or so. And we will certainly offer yoga when you come there and the next time we come here. We thought what we might do, if you have any questions of us, we will do our best to handle whatever might be of interest to you. So please don't be shy.
If you ask where we're moving next, we're just going to say we're not. And of course, unless...
Jayaji has a great technique for breaking the ice when they say, does anybody have any questions? And nobody has any questions. He says, and now who would like to ask the second question?
How do we know that we are progressing in meditation? Are there any signs for us, any encouraging signs?
Oh, absolutely. You can start.
Yeah, I will say first that, meditation is a technique, it's a vehicle. The idea is to have meditation affect your entire life. And so the way I like to look at whether meditation is working for me or working for other people is, who are they becoming? Are they calmer? Are they kinder? Are they more, peaceful and loving? How do they deal with stressful situations, challenges? And I look at myself, having been a meditator for many years now. It's very subtle, the changes that occur. But if I look back at who I was before I began to meditate, or even at different stages along the way, I realized that it's had a very significant effect on my life, and just how I see life, and how I am with other people, and how I am when things are hard. Because things will always be hard. There are things that come up every day that are not anticipated, and we get to say thank you to Divine Mother. This is another opportunity for me to grow. I may not like it, but I'm going to be much better off if I accept that this is my karma to deal with, and that I want to essentially put whatever that karma is to rest. And so I wouldn't look for experiences within your meditation practice itself as any kind of roadmap necessarily for how you are progressing. Some people have phenomenal, experiences within meditation. Other people have very little. Swamiji himself said that he really didn't have, what some people will report even in their beginning meditation practices. He was, of course, a very, very deep meditator, but it wasn't like there was just all this spectacular stuff going on in his mind. So don't look for the phenomena as a guide to whether or not you are progressing. Look at your life. Look at how you are feeling inside, and how you are being in the world. And I think that's probably the best answer I can give you.
I think I just add one little thing. It's number one, we can't change anyone else. I just don't have time. We can't change our spouses. We can't really change the world. Remember what Gandhi said, be the change we want to see in the world. And two words that I think are key are reaction and responsiveness. Reactive process or responding. So what I sort of realized, and meditation is connected to the breath, deeper courses, teachings of what the breath is, the life force and prana. And when the more we meditate, then the more we're capable of coming from the place of responding rather than reacting. Because most people, energy comes to them and they just want to push it right back. And in meditation, what I've seen a lot of people offer as what has changed in them is that they say, I'm more centered, or, I don't react, I don't feel the need to. And that's a big step. And like he said, it's kind of small. And the challenges will come. Sometimes someone said, you've heard the phrase beginner's luck. When you first start meditating, you might see things, you might hear the sounds, and then it doesn't happen. And it's just a little test that God's giving us. Are you still with me? I gave you a little gift, and are you still with me when you don't have it? And it's just knowing too that even when we don't see the sun, it's still always there, just as God's presence is always there. So it's just being patient, and again, not looking, just stepping back and just saying, as he did, where was I last week or a month ago before I started? And always check in with your acharyas and see, if you need some maybe fine-tuning of the meditation technique or whatever. because we're all here to serve you in any way that we can. So.
No, justice is some people are cut down as success, and others cut out, not cut out for meditation at all. Because I am going nowhere even with also. I get terrible pains. Whenever I try any meditation technique, I tried art of living, I got a terrible throat pain and I collapsed. And for a whole week I couldn't talk. Then when I had inspiration by Swami Pragyananda, Paramahansa Pragyananda from Odisha. After that I had fever for the whole year. Every month fever and I lost weight, everything. So here I'm getting backache. When I do other things I'm okay, but when I sit and meditate, that it comes. So is there a karmic block for some people, or some people are just not cut out for this?
Well, I wouldn't force anything. We have to. It's an opening of our heart, and sometimes because of different things that are going on in our physical body, because we all have physical bodies. That's the reality of this plane, and we're used to it. And it likes to get our attention when we sit down to meditate. And yours sounds like you have more of the body speaking to you when you meditate. So I would just go very, very slowly, and I would just sit with my breath. Even a restorative posture where you can just watch your breath and don't try to do any technique right away. Just sit with your breath. And that breath will begin to calm the nervous system. It will relax the muscles. So I would just take it back a step, rather than keep pushing forward with something that's not really working and very comfortable for you right now. So I wouldn't turn my back on meditation ever. If we just sit quietly and have our thoughts of God as a meditation. The technique of Hong Sa, it's a technique. And the meditation comes when we stop doing the Hong Sa. And now we're just being in the presence of God. And so maybe that's what would serve you better.
No, I think that's wonderful. You're being tested, and you need to do, as Tushti said, what is going to be most effective for you. Perhaps just following the breath and being at peace, and just trying to make that connection with the divine in whatever way you can, to love God. And if you love God and you express that, whether just sitting quietly or walking or doing housework, whatever it may be, that's most important. That is always most important. It's just feeling that love in your heart. If you can open your heart and allow the masters to guide you, Divine Mother to come in, you're on your way.
The yogis did the yoga postures, the hatha yoga, to relax their bodies. But I think even for you right now, I would just say, rest in a comfortable position or sit in a comfortable position. Take the double breath. Do that a couple times. That sends life force to all the muscles and all the organs. And then as you're exhaling that breath out, just feel all of that tension, whatever it is. And we all come in with, Master said, and Swami, we come in with a bag of self-definitions. And sometimes it's limitations in our physical body. And so we don't want to force our way through it. They used to say, when aerobics became popular, there was a teacher, and she said, no pain, no gain. That is not the yoga way. We want to relax our body, and then that light can come in. Tension blocks the flow of energy, and the block of flow of energy causes pain. And so we want to let the muscles relax. And you've been through some yoga postures, maybe Shavasana?
Yes.
Yes, Shavasana is lovely. Yeah, we're just letting go of the body and just feel like maybe that's your meditation right now. Following that soft breath and letting go of your body.
So while doing meditation, sometimes the stillness of the mind, it fluctuates every day. Sometimes even going 1 hour, we don't know. Sometimes even 10 minutes, it's very difficult. Mind is very wavering. Is the yoga posture like some lotus posture or plays major role to control the mind or any other?
Don't we wish we could control what
Your
goes on?
mind will always do that to you.
It doesn't to me still, and it's just like, that's what it's a little, it gathers all kinds of information, and as soon as you try to be quiet, it wants to give it all back to you. So, just come back, are you Kriyaban or Hangsa?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe just do a double cleansing breath again, and just start up again. Because the mind will do that. You'll find that after a while, the mind is still trying to talk to us, but the voice gets softer, and it's less distracting, because that's just what its job is, We receive so many messages subconsciously, just sitting in this room, the fan is going around, there's different colors around me, different heights. My body, my hard drive, which I don't relate to at all, but it's taking it all in, and so when I sit to meditate, it wants to tell me, oh, there was such a nice group of people. Yes, I agree with that, but now let's get back to meditation. So don't get discouraged. Saint Teresa of Avila said, even if all you did was fight distractions, as long as you sat down with God, it was a good meditation.
The thing is, and I'm sure that your acharyas have told you too, that those thoughts will flow constantly. And what you don't want to do is just simply allow one of them to take you away. And you'll find that it will, and then you just bring yourself back to your practice, whether it's Hangsa or your Kriya breath. It's just going to happen. I have never been able to turn my mind off. I have moments of, wow, that was great, that stillness and feeling just inspired and uplifted. And usually just about the time that I acknowledge that, another thought comes in. So it's definitely a practice. Meditation is a practice, it's a discipline, but it's also something that you want to relax into, and the more you can relax into it, the less you will be disturbed by distraction.
I like to think of the mind sometimes as a 2-year-old. They run away, and Divine Mother says, come back, come back. They run away, and the Mother says, come back, come back. So just be nice, be kind, it's there. But we're all on our way out of it. So it's just like the chant that Surendra did. It was, I am the bubble, make me the sea. Master often used that example for us, of we're all these little waves bouncing up and down. And just beneath the surface in the calm depths, there's just this inner peace and stillness that we're all actually longing for. But we still bounce around for a while up on the top. That's our moment.
In spite of all meditation, I find difficult to control my temper, especially in the workplace. When subordinates are doing something wrong. So, is it wrong or is it a way to control it?
Well, one way is to, when we worked at East West, I had a challenge with one of our employees who was a deputy. And we would get along just fine for a while. Then we would just be like this. And the funniest part to me anyway is I would say my dear, and she'd say, don't call me my dear. And I actually went to Asha, who was our spiritual director in Palo Alto at the time, and I said, I have tried everything that I can think of to do. And I said, what would you do? And we were pretty new yet. And she said, put their picture on your altar. You don't have to do anything from that point. Just have the picture there. And so maybe you don't want your staff on your altar, but you can have a mental picture when you sit down in your meditation and just send them light. This woman did not change. I changed because I was accepting her personality that was sometimes very challenging and maybe not doing what was asked of her. I saw that that's who she was, and I just needed to give her some more love. And another thing is when someone is misbehaving and you would like to talk to them about something, take a step back again first and come to your center and be in that responsive mode rather than the reactive mode. And it's a challenge for all of us. Someone cuts us off when we're driving and you just want to cut them back off. But then when we go, okay, you must be in a real hurry, just go right ahead. So it's just sort of taking a bigger scope of people and accepting who they are. Because number one, too, we don't even know what they brought with them when they came into this lifetime. And so, sit, in your meditation, just offer a prayer at the end. Make it a healing prayer at the end of your meditation for those people. And pray that calmness comes to them, because maybe they're just in a reactive process as well. Does that help a little bit?
I think, what Tushti said is you want to pause before you react. That, somebody's going to push your buttons. It happens all the time. And instead of just immediately, I'm going to get even kind of thing, just take that breath, and maybe you don't reply at all. Maybe you just let the person vent or be whoever they are, but don't engage with them in a way that is taking you out of your center. And they will notice a change in how you respond. And maybe not immediately, but over time, they will probably become less and less of a problem for you, even if it's just a matter of not coming to you as often as they did before. As Tushti said, this one person didn't really change, but at the same time, there wasn't this constant, tension because of so much interaction. The interaction will probably become less too.
Actually, I have to say she did change. She was no longer working at the store, and she would come to visit the temple in Palo Alto. And one of the last times I saw her, she came up and greeted me very friendly, because I always kept my prayers going for her. But also, if it's someone's not doing what's expected of them, if that might have been what part of your question was, it might just open a dialogue with them, but do it in a very calm way. Explain what is wanted, is expected of them in this role, and just see what their response is. Maybe they don't understand the role, or they need clarity.